You doing?
I'm making pumpkin puree.
How do you make pumpkin puree?
You take the insides of a pumpkin, you cut them up, and then you put them into the blender, and you puree them, and it comes out like this. So it looks just like baby food. And then from there, we make pumpkin pie, or whatever else we want to make with pumpkin. I did 16 pumpkins today.
What did you just do here?
Well, I'm making pumpkin puree again so that I can make some fresh pumpkin pies today. So I cut these in half, and I took all the guts out.
You cut these in half.
I cut the pumpkins in half, yeah. I took all the guts out.
So that's the seed and the
Pulp. Yeah.
and the pulp. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's not going to be used for any.
No, I could make seeds, like pumpkin seeds, roasted out of them, but nobody eats them around here, so I don't make them.
And those are tomatoes.
Yeah, those are tomatoes that are really too small to do anything with. So, and we have lots of tomatoes. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some butter and salt on them. Just put a butter or oil just on top and salt them a little bit. And then I'll put them in the oven for anywhere from an hour, well, at about 350, for about an hour. And by then they'll be soft enough to cut up, and then I'll make them into puree. And then from there, I use the puree to make pumpkin pies.
So these are the shells that have been in the oven? Mm-hmm. For how long?
They were in the oven for about 45 minutes, and then I do them long enough so that I can put a fork in them to make sure they're done.
And what temperature?
350 for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the size of your pumpkins.
So what's the next process?
I'm going to start cutting them up. Actually, I should do that over here. So I just cut them into pieces. Ooh, they're very soft. And then I start taking the back off. So I'll peel the backs off.
You're skinning it.
I'm skinning it, yep. And then once I have all the meat out of it, or the flesh, or whatever you want to call it, then I'll take that and I will make that into a puree. But we can do that later.
So in order to put it into a puree, is there a process? Is there a machine that puts it in, or you just...
You can put it through a blender if you have a really good blender. I have kind of a Pampered Chef one that will do like soups and that kind of purees, like a hot puree, but it'll also do it cold. So that's what I do. I put it into my Pampered Chef cooker blender. They're easier to peel when they're smaller. So, but basically the peeling, where's that bucket? Here it is. You can either do it by hand, just literally pulling it off, which I do, or sometimes I like to just grab a knife and do it this way. It just gives me a little bit more leverage. And you're just peeling it off. I will need another bucket to put the pieces in though. Perfect. And then I just cut them a little bit smaller and then put them in there until they're all done. It's a pretty easy process. It's just time consuming. But if you cook them long enough, they can peel right off.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what do you use the puree for?
I like to use it for primarily pumpkin pies, but I've used it for pumpkin muffins and pumpkin scones. I've done pumpkin donuts, done lots of pumpkin stuff. Anything that has a recipe requiring pumpkin in like from a jar, that's the equivalent of about 2 cups of fresh puree. So a friend of mine has made soup with her pumpkin, so I'm going to try that. I have lots of pumpkins, so I have lots of things to try.
And what kind of pumpkins?
These are all pie pumpkins, but I think for the more savory things, I would use either a jack-o'-lantern or a different kind of pumpkin, because these have a sweet start to them. But I might try it with the sweet pumpkin too, see what happens. Never know. Gotta try.
So pie pumpkins, are they similar to sugar pumpkins?
Yes, that's actually what they're called. I just call them pie pumpkins. But yes, they're called sugar pumpkins. And this year, this will make, oh goodness, this will be my 28th pumpkin that I've pureed. So there's a lot of pumpkin. This is my last bowl.
So these came from the pumpkins.
These came from the pumpkins, yeah.
Took the skin off. First you cooked them.
Yeah, I roast them in the oven for about 45 minutes. And then I take the peels off, or the, whatever you call it, rinds or whatever
Seeds?
it is. Take the seeds out first, yes. And then cut them all up. Put them in the blender.
Take the skin off.
Yes. Is it skin? Rind? I don't know. Whatever it's called. And then we put it in here in the Pampered Chef cooker, which is a messy job, but it works well. Start it up. Stops making a grinding noise and I turn it off. And you have, it's a little messy, but then you have pumpkin puree. Ta-da!
Yeah. We really chews it up.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, there's one. Where's the other one?
Now what are you doing?
Now they have to go into 2-cup packages. Because whenever you make something with pumpkin puree, there's usually a 2-cup pumpkin puree. And what year are we in? 2023. So, just to keep the bag open, stick it in the cup. Do this. Take my half a cup. Take my half a cup. 1, 2, 3. Whoa. 3, 4. Mix 2 cups. Take it out. And squish it down, get the air out as much as possible without squishing it out. And there you go, ready for the freezer.
Where did you learn that idea with the putting the bag in a cup?
That's what you do with icing and with when you're putting like icing on your cakes or on your cookies or something like that. So you stick it in there so it doesn't fall over. That way you don't have to have somebody hold it. Does that make sense? And I forgot to write on it, but that's fine.
Wow.
Puree. Well, it is a lot of puree, but it's going to make a lot of bags. So come back later and find out how many bags I made.
In the comments, guess how many bags there's going to be.
That'd be a good guess. I have no idea. For reference, we did 16 pumpkins today. 16 pie pumpkins. So this is 16 pumpkins worth of puree.
Oh, this is gonna go for chicken food.